Welcome to my next video in our node by node challenge where we're going through every single node in the shading workspace in Blender 4.3. So we have gone through all the inputs and outputs. We're on the color section and we're on one that is called mix color. So what mix color is going to do is if you go into, you hit Shift A and you go into color and you do mix color, what it's going to do is bring up this node right here. Now this node has a lot of different functions that you can do. We're not going to go into float and vector per se, but basically there's one for float for individual inputs. There's one for vector inputs if you have like an X, Y, and Z coordinate that you want to be able to put in and mix those together. What most of the time people are using this for is mix color. Now its base form, it's going to be default into the mix. There's a lot of different blending methods. So the most popular ones that people use are mix, multiply, linear light. Those seem to be the ones that most people are using. There are some other things that you can do and you can definitely play around with them. And they all do a lot of things, but this is a pretty complex one because there's so many different options, but these are all blending methods. So if you're familiar with Photoshop or anything else, you know, these have different ways of being able to do it. So it'll take the two textures or colors that you're combining and lighten one based on the other. So you're basically lightening up the overall. There's one for screen, which is going to allow one to kind of bleed through the other. Color dodge uses kind of the opposites of the colors to be able to go through. Add just adds the two colors together to make a different color. Overlay, you're going to have one that's going to show through on the other one. So it'll have like a slight adjustment to it, but not dramatic because it's only going to be an overlay. It's not going to replace it or mix with it. You know, soft light is assuming that it's going to have a little bit of light that is going to affect it, so it will lighten up the overall structure of the texture that you're doing. Linear light is kind of a smoother blending method between the two different ways of using them. Difference obviously uses the opposite of the two of them, so it'll take, you know, one color minus the other color and come out with a different color. Exclusion will basically not include those colors in it of what you're doing, or not include the one color from the other one, so it'll take that portion of the color out of the other one. Subtract kind of works similar to difference, where it's going to take one out of the other. Divide is exactly what it says. It's dividing one color by another, and keep in mind these are based on numbers. So it's just something that it does behind the scenes from a mathematical point of view. You don't really need to know how it works. Just know that it's taking one color and dividing the other one by it. Hue is going to affect the overall hue and saturation of it. You know, there's a saturation and a hue separately, but it does change the saturation a little bit with the hue. Saturation is just how much color it is, like how much saturation in each individual color. And then color is going to use the colors from each of the two that you're combining together to create a basically like a mixed color of the two of them. And then value is a number version of it as well. So it does the same thing. So anyways, so basically the mix that you're going to be able to use, if you just plug in two colors, it's going to take a mixture of them using a factor of whatever you select. Now, this one's going to have a factor of 0.5, which is just showing that it's evenly taking these two colors, and the output is making this like bland, you know, brownish tan color. If you change the factor, it's going to lean more in one direction or the other. For color A, it's going to be all the way to the left, color B, all the way to the right. If you leave it in the middle, it takes a mixture of the two. The other thing that you can do is you can plug in things to both the color and the factor. So let's try plugging this into our first color. So if we did that, it's going to have this kind of like cartoony giraffe look where it's going to have brown spots on a yellow body that can be adjusted based on, you know, I got a color ramp sitting here, but basically you'll see that it's taking a mixture of half of the first texture and then half of this orangish color, so it's got a little orangish hue. If I go all the way this way, it's all orange. All the way this way, it's just the brown and yellow. Okay, where it looks a little bit nicer, taking a kind of an orangish hue to everything. Okay, now let's say you want to do something else and you want to take another color and drop it in here. So you could take another color and use whatever this one is. So this one's got some green, kind of some weird spots, texturing to it. So we could take this second one here and we could leave it like this, but once again, it's either going to go in the full kind of camo-y looking texture, the green and orange, or it's going to go all the way this way. This is a mixture of the two. And as you adjust these, it'll automatically adjust your overall image because they're mixed together. So this could be really useful if you're creating a pattern that you want to be able to have on your texture. The other thing is too is that you can do things to control the factor. So for example, let's say that we added in a noise texture, okay, just as a simple one, and we added the factor of the noise into the factor of the mix color. So as you take and add more noise, what it's going to do is it's going to add in these colors into the areas of the noise. So like if all I did is drop those two off, okay, this will show you a little bit better of how it works. It has these two colors, and this is all noise on here, and it's converting the noise to say, okay, on any of the dark spots of the noise, like if, just so you can see, so this is all regular, just the noise with no color. Any spots that are dark are going to be one color. Any spots that are light are going to be the other. So by putting this into the factor, you're telling it that I want to take a mixture of those two colors, but I want to do it in a certain pattern. So you find and create the pattern that you like, you know, whatever it may be on here. You find your pattern that you like, and then you change and you edit your colors to what you want them to be. So this could be really, really useful to create masks in your texture. So a lot of people use these to create masks. They'll just literally have some sort of texture, a noise, a Voronoi, or something along those lines, a magic texture, anything that's going to be used as a mask, drop it into the factor of something, and then pick the two different things they want. So they don't have to be colors, they can actually be textures. You can have a fully created texture. I'll give you an example. Let's say it's leather. You have a leather texture that goes into the first color. So it's going to be whatever your leather texture is, whatever color you designated for that actual texture you created. And then the second one could be like, let's say that it is like a faded leather. So let's say you have an old leather bag that you want to show wear on. You could have one be like the regular leather color, one be the faded leather color, and the whole texture that you built, you put them into A and B, and then the factor could be based on something like, let's say you used a magic texture that was going to put little grooves and cuts in it. So basically anywhere in the grooves and cuts is like the faded texture. Anywhere that's not is going to be the normal texture. So there's all kinds of really cool things you can do that you can use this as a masking tool, and these different blend methods you'd have to play around with to get it to where you like it. But this is one of the most popular, most used nodes. So definitely one you want to learn. So hopefully that helps. Gave you a lot of information on it and just some basic ways to use it. There's some way more complex ways that I don't even get into, but you can definitely learn a lot about it. So learn as much as you can about this one. This is a good one. Like, follow, share, and save the video, and make sure you stay tuned for my next ones.